Hi, we're moving on now to 1.3.4 CAD modeling skills. There's going to be a total of 3 parts to this activity. We're going to get started with part 1 right now, which deals with making polygons. We are going to start off like usual, make sure that our view cube is correct. Then we're going to go over to our document settings, make sure your document settings are in inches. If they're not, click on that icon there and go ahead and change them to inches. We're going to go on up to our data panel. We're going to go ahead and open up our Unit 1 project folder. It's ready to go. Then I'm going to go on up to File, Save. We're going to call this 1.3.4 Part 1. Okay. And make sure you have it in the correct location. And if you already opened it up in your data panel, it should have defaulted to your Unit 1 folder, and then click Save. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create sketch. Open up my origin there. This time we're going to use our XZ plane. Notice one thing that you can be looking at when we click the XZ plane, notice it changed the view cube, so we're looking at the top of it. So that's kind of a hint for you as you're trying to decide what plane to use for your projects when you're working on them. Just think about, take a look at what side of the view cube is showing when you click on a plane. So we should be on the XZ plane, and you should see the top of your view cube. Okay, we are going to put a center rectangle. Now click in the origin, start dragging out. We want the horizontal to be 6 inches. Then click tab, and we want our, that's right, and our vertical to be 4 inches. And click enter. Okay. Okay, what we want to do next is we need to put some more construction lines in. You can see the diagonal lines there. But we need a construction line for our y-axis and a construction line for our x-axis. So I'm going to go over to line type, click construction, click on my line tool, go across the top until I see my midpoint triangle. Click and drag down. Make sure I have a midpoint triangle at the bottom. Click again. I'll go over to one side and do the same thing. Look for my midpoint triangle. Click, drag across. Make sure I have my midpoint triangle. Click again. Very important at this point to go back over to your sketch palette and deselect the construction line. Okay. And then we're going to click OK. So now you should have 2 diagonal lines, a vertical line, and a horizontal line. Okay, so we're going to do 3 polygons all together. We're going to do a circumscribed pentagon, an inscribed hexagon, and an equilateral triangle. I'm going to start off going up to create. I'm going to go down to polygon. We're going to go to circumscribed polygon. Click on that. Up here in this top left quadrant, I'm just going to click the point, and then I'm going to start dragging. I'm not clicking anything right now. I just dragged a little bit out. We want the radius to be 0.35. Then I'm going to click my tab key to take me over to the other box. And this is where I'm going to put in the 5 because this is going to be a pentagon. Once I have both of those numbers in, I can click enter. And there's my pentagon. Next, we're going to do the hexagon. So I'm going to go back up to create. Polygon. This time it's going to be an inscribed polygon. I'm going to go to the top right quadrant. And I'm going to try not to line it up exactly with anything there. I'm going to click, and then I'm going to start dragging out a little bit like I did before. This one is going to be a radius of 0.25 inches. Whoops, 0.25 inches. Then I'm going to click tab, and it should be 6. A hexagon has 6 sides. So we're going to do 6 and enter. And there is our hexagon. Next thing is the equilateral triangle. I go down to polygon. This time it's going to be an edge polygon. I go down to this bottom right quadrant. I'm going to click a point. I'm going to drag out a little bit, click another point, and then once I start dragging to the side, it will give me a polygon. I'm going to type in 3 because it's a triangle, and click enter. Now I need to make sure that this is 1.25 inches, so I'm going to go up to my sketch dimension. I'm going to click on one of the edges of the triangle. I'm going to drag that out a little bit, and I'm going to put in the dimension of 1.25 and click enter. And all 3 sides should have updated to be the 1.25. And now you can get out of your sketch dimension tool. Now, one thing that we are going to do is we need to move these polygons over. We want them to be placed like this. So your pentagon will be here, hexagon, and your equilateral triangle. Okay, the way we're going to do this is using the constraints. So for the first one, for our pentagon, we are going to place this on this midline. We're going to do that by clicking on our coincident constraint. Going to click the center of the pentagon, the circle right there in the center. And then we're going to click on this construction line, and it'll move it over that way. And now I can get out of that. Next thing I want this line, the bottom of the pentagon, to be horizontal with my x-axis. So what I'm going to do is go up to my horizontal constraint. I'm going to click just on the corner of this, and then I'm going to, it's not letting me do it. Let's get out of there for a second. Let's try the other corner. Do that. It's not letting me do it. Cancel. There we go. Sorry. All you have to do, my bad, you need to click on your horizontal and then click the bottom of the pentagon, and it will make it horizontal. I'm getting ahead of myself on my steps. Okay, and then click OK. So I'm going to undo that and do it again so you can see it. So in order to make this edge here horizontal with the x-axis, you're going to go up to your horizontal constraint, click on the bottom of the pentagon, and it will straighten it out for you. Next thing we need to do is we need to bring the pentagon to be a 1/2 inch from the x-axis. To do that, we're going to go to our sketch dimension rather. Click on that. Now we're going to click on just that corner vertices right there. And then we're going to click on the x-axis. And we're going to drag that out to the side a little bit and click. We want this to be 0.5 and click enter. And it put it in place. That's exactly where we want it. We're done with the pentagon. Now we're going to move on to our hexagon. Hexagon sometimes gets a little bit tricky. So let's hope that it's going to work for us. So we're going to start off with our coincident. I'm going to click on the center circle of the hexagon. Then I'm going to click on the diagonal line. And it moves it over so that it is coincident with that. Next thing I need to do, let me get out of that real quickly, is I want this edge right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. This edge right here to be parallel with the top edge of the rectangle. So I'm going to click on my parallel constraint. I'm going to click on that edge. Then I'm going to click on the top edge of the rectangle. And it should straighten it up. So it's looking very much like mine does now. We've got one more thing to do to the hexagon and we'll be done. We want the center of the hexagon to be a 1/2 inch from this top edge. So we're going to go on, go with that. We're going to go back to our sketch dimension. I'm going to click on the center of the hexagon. I'm going to click on the top of my rectangle. I'm going to drag this out off of the rectangle, and I'm going to type in 0.5. Click enter, and it moved it right up into place. Okay, 2 down, 1 to go. So the triangle, we're going to put down in the corner here. So first thing I need to do is go up and get my coincident constraint. I'll click on this corner of my equilateral triangle. And then you want to click on the corner of the rectangle. And it'll move it over into place a little bit. Still using our coincident constraint, we're now going to click on the center of the triangle, the circle in the center, and then you are going to click on this diagonal line. Make sure you're clicking on the construction line, not on the edge of the triangle. And it puts it back into place. And click OK. And at this point, you can click Finish Sketch. And that is part 1.